Gentlemen, now that you're here and you're dry, we can get this meeting started. We'd like to welcome everybody out tonight to the American Forks City Council meeting. It's January 10th of the year 2023, and we have an agenda that has been posted in various places and on the state website, and we will follow the agenda as outlined. We'll begin with a Pledge of Allegiance. Then we'll have an invocation offered by Councilmember Taylor, and then I will conduct the roll call. If everybody please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our dear Heavenly Father, as we come before Thee at the beginning of a new year and our first council meeting of the year, we express our gratitude for the opportunity that we have to gather civilly and come together to conduct the business of the city, to work with one another, to bring things forward that would benefit our residents and the businesses and those who would do business here. We are grateful, Heavenly Father, for Thy goodness. We are grateful for this bountiful rain that we have received, for our drought-stricken land, and we recognize Thy hand and are grateful for it. And pray that we might better prepare for the things that it might bring, that we will be able to be good stewards of these things which Thou hast abundantly given unto us. We are grateful this night, Heavenly Father, for those who are gathered with us, for the interest that they take in the city, for their service, for their goodness, and pray that we might have a night where we are able to do things according to Thy will, where we might be guided for the best interest of all that are involved. And we express our appreciation for those who look after our city by ways of public safety and our city staff. And we are grateful and mindful, Heavenly Father, of those that watch over our great country and look after us in foreign countries and different things, and we are appreciative of that. We ask now that Thou would be with us, that we might conduct the business of the city civilly in accordance with Thy will, and we express our appreciation to Thee for our freedoms and all that we have and enjoy, and we do so in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Okay, now we will now have the roll call. Councilmember Hunter?
Here.
Councilmember Shelton?
Here.
Councilmember Barnes?
Here.
Councilmember Carroll?
Here.
Councilmember Taylor?
Here.
Okay, item number 2 is the period of time that we set aside for public comment. We would ask you to keep your items very, very brief, 2 to 3 minutes at maximum, and we have 2, and this, I'm just going to take them in this order, and then any others that have not submitted forms, but I have 2 submitted forms. First one, Spencer Stevens, and the second one is John Miller, so we'll take that in that order first.
Hello? Okay, it's on. My name is Spencer Stevens. I'm an American Fork resident, and I serve as Vice President of Harrington Center for the Arts. I started performing professionally when I was 10 years old, when I was cast in the touring production of Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, starring Donny Osmond. And since that time, I've had a broad career of professional performing and arts education. And I'm pleased to now serve this community as Vice President of Harrington Center for the Arts. I just wanted to publicly thank the City Council and the Mayor for supporting the arts and culture in our community, and specifically Harrington Center for the Arts. We've been really excited and grateful for the support of American Fork residents as our organization has grown quickly over the last 5 years, largely in thanks to the Park Tax program, which has significantly invested in the work that we're doing and the goals we're trying to accomplish. In 2022 alone, we supported 1,000 artists and had over 14,000 people attend our events. And we had about 300 volunteers involved in the work that we're doing. So those statistics alone show that the community has really come out to support us, and we're grateful for that support. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Spencer. Should we have a drum roll right here? Like a,
John Miller, glad to be here. I taught band here in high school for 30 years, and Mr. Shelton was a trumpet player of mine, and he will now play a trumpet solo for us. You didn't get that memo?
John, I have no embouchure, just
Oh,
so
okay.
you know. I played percussion.
That's true.
Carry a beat, but that's about it.
That's true. We'll forgive you then. I just had an opportunity at the work session the other day to give a little report, but I wanted to. When I sat down, I said, I didn't do the most important thing I wanted to do, and that's just thank you. Thank you and the Park Committee for providing the arts in American Fork. Sometimes us art folks, music folks, drama, theater, orchestra, and everything are the kind of silent majority. We're kind of behind the scenes, but music is so important and art is so important. People sometimes move to American Fork to be parts of some aspect of what's going on here. We had a real tragedy in our Wasatch Winds. One of our tuba players passed away very unexpectedly. And his wife told me that he had written a letter to me. And he wrote a letter like 3 days before he passed away. And in that letter, he expressed appreciation for what music had done for his life in high school. How he was on the verge of, completely going down a very dark path because of abuse in his family. And how music had saved him. And I just want to bear witness to you that there are lots of kids out here, a lot of people, adults too, that music has an impact in them, a huge impact in positive goodness. And it's so neat to be a part of the city that supports the arts. I mean, I remember the old logo had a music scroll on it. That was just an awesome thing. The new one's good too. But I just want to thank you for having a city that has a symphony, a concert band, a jazz band, a functioning theater program, arts, it's just amazing. I have a chance to talk to a lot of people around the country and around the state about how their cities are doing. And I am always just proud to say, hey, you should see what American Fork is doing. So I think it helps to put us on the map. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you, thank you, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, John. Is there anybody else that would like to come up and, in the back?
Hello. Sorry if you don't mind, I have notes because I get flustered. My name is Crystal Pine, and I am one of the founders of Regalo Theater Company. We are a brand new theater company just formed in the last year. However, my husband and I are not new to American Fork. He opened the Chick-fil-A 12 and a half years ago, and I am in my 9th year of being a volunteer victim advocate with the police department. We absolutely love the city of American Fork, and we love its citizens. We love serving them. We started Regalo Theater Company because as actors in the community, we saw the home that a theater can create for people that can feel not at home other places. They find themselves and they blossom and become the best versions of themselves. However, by nature of there being thousands of talented actors in this area, shows only cast about 50 at most. And so there's a large disparity in the number of actors, but the number of opportunities is far less. We wanted to form our business in American Fork because of American Fork's great history of supporting the arts and going to bat for them. And we've watched that as we've lived here. And we are so grateful and appreciative for all of that. And our rehearsal space is here, but we couldn't find a performing venue. They're booked. Everybody, there are a lot of performing options, but not enough. And so we want to help rectify that. We want to bring more to American Fork. And we want to do that with you. And please let us. Thanks.
Thank you. Reggie.
I guess I'm supposed to bring it home for the arts. But just grateful to get an opportunity occasionally to show our appreciation for the arts in this great city as a resident and as Reggie Walker, Executive Director of Timpanogos Arts Foundation. Just mention quickly, briefly, that the visual arts started in the 1940s, I believe, here, and we're still carrying on that tradition today with art classes. Has not stopped. And the symphony celebrating their 30th anniversary, as I mentioned in the work session. And I just noticed that looking at the agenda tonight, there's a lot of construction and a lot of things for you guys to approve and to review and to take a look at as this city continues to really, really grow, which is wonderful, right? And so we all, with the arts, believe that there's a great need. That need is going to continue to grow, and that we think there's room for everybody. As you've heard tonight, we've got a lot of great people, a lot of new things, older groups like us, and we just think there's going to be a great continued presence of the arts here. And we just want to thank the City of American Fork and all of you who have continued to support us and other arts organizations through the years. It just means the world to us and to the people we impact. It's just every day we see the difference that the arts makes in people's lives. And it's just wonderful, and it's just so meaningful. And I'm so grateful to have the role that I do, to where I get to see that every day and to work with so many good people. So thank you. Grateful for all that you do. Thank you.
Keith. Keith, if you'd state your name and who you're with.
I'm with Commander Hall with the American Legion Post 49 here in American Fork. The American Legion's been around since 1919, 1 year after World War I ended. The biggest organization still serving God and country. And I want to thank the mayor and the city council for their support in the American Legion and the Veterans Hall. I think at one time the Veterans Hall was about ready to get tore down. And that's on the National Historical Site. The mayor and city council came together and decided to fix the building up with a new roof, new ceiling, new floor, and made it very humbling when you walk inside. When I walk inside the Veterans Hall, I can feel a special spirit there because the veterans' pictures who are on the wall. The American Legion is pretty heavily involved. We combine mostly with the veterans of foreign war. With the Timpanogos Honor Guard, we did 105 funerals last year, where we fire the M1s, we play taps, we fold the flag and give the flag and the shell case into the family member. Every time I've done one of these, I get a tear in my eye because I think what that veteran went through for my freedoms. Councilman Barnes has been very supportive of us. I can't imagine what he went through, sending his son off to war and his son not coming home. So thank you, Councilman Barnes, especially. We got just a little token of appreciation we want to give you tonight. This is Gary Steele, he's my first vice commander of the American Legion. And we meet the third Wednesday every month at the Veterans Hall if you want to come and join us. One thing you want to plan on attending is, and some of the city councils I have it, the third Wednesday in April at the Cove Point Amphitheater, we do a flag return. Where we have a spiritual humbling experience when we retire that flag along with the military, the police, firefighters, and healthcare workers, where we unfurl them flags and we burn them. So if you want to put something on your calendar to attend for the whole city community, that's the third Wednesday in April. Gary, you want to bring them up, please? I got these at Hobby Lobby, and I couldn't get, they're not all the same, so I apologize about that. I went to 3 Hobby Lobbies before I could find these, but these are just some sayings by President Ronald Reagan. Right there, my friend. Very supportive of our folks. The mayor's got a cowboy name, whether he knows it or not. The Frosts are big in rodeo cowboys. I know this guy right over here. So he's awesome dad. My pleasure. Thank you so much. And when you go to bed tonight, make sure you pray for the leaders over this great nation, especially those who are serving in the military. This Friday or so, we do. General, he passed away. Oh my heck.
France.
Mel France.
Yes, Mel France, and we have 2 generals in our post, Bruce and his dad. So we get that. It's an honor to do his funeral where we fire the M1s and we play taps and give that special flag and the showcase into his family. So thank you very much, Mayor Frost, and all of you for supporting our post. And we're going to excuse ourselves if that's okay.
You betcha. Thank you.
God bless you.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody else? Yeah, please come forward.
Good evening. My name is Linda Robledo. I am a mom who bikes, often with my kids on the back of the bike. One thing that I have loved recently about the city is the transit-oriented development zone. As I've biked around there with my kids, it's so obvious that we were really taken into account, which I'm so grateful for. One thing that could be improved is a lack of bike parking. So that's something I would ask the city council to keep in mind as you are reviewing and approving all of these plats for the transit-oriented development. There's giant parking lots, and you look around, there's really no place for your bike, which obviously is a bit of a problem when you're biking all around all day. And then you get home, and I don't live there personally, but I imagine for people who do, it presents a real issue, especially if you live on not the first floor, if you have to carry your bike up the stairs. So that's something that I think should definitely be expected from the developers, but it's something that can very easily be missed during the planning and approval process. So I would love if you would all keep that in account and require that from developers before their plats are approved. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay.
I just have 2 quick things. First, I want to thank the Public Works Department for repainting a crosswalk that I use frequently near the train tracks and the freeway underpass on the way over to the transit-oriented development. Did it in the middle of winter, and it was nasty weather, and so I really appreciate that, and I used it on my way over tonight. And my other comment / question moving forward, I know that 200 South is slated for redevelopment this year, but as you're going up towards Lehigh, across that Mill Pond Road bridge, there's about 50 feet max where there's no sidewalk there. So I would hate to see this whole street redone and then have it terminate with absolutely no connection over to Lehigh. That just to me would make no sense. So if we can look at that in the plan, that would be great. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick. Is there anybody else who would like to make public comment? All right. Seeing none, we will close the public comment period and we'll move on to the city administrator's report.
Thank you, Mayor. I have nothing to report tonight.
Thank you. Okay, we'll now move on to council reports. I'll start with Councilmember Hunter.
Thank you, Mayor. Seems like a heavy week. There's a couple things I wanted to just quickly report. Parks and Trails, we met again last week for our monthly meeting. You'll be happy to note that one of the things was it Mrs. Robledo? I can't see. Oh, there you are. One of the things that we are discussing is a bike rack grant program within the Parks and Trails. So it's being discussed and it's something that's part of the conversation. So. Just make a reminder as well, the library's 100th anniversary is this year, and will be celebrated on the 23rd of January from 6 to 8. We've all been invited to come and participate in that, and just encourage you if you can make that fit in your schedules. And I think it was mentioned earlier, but Uncle Mel played a big role in my life, as you can imagine, and I actually wasn't aware, but he served on the city council. I read that in his obituary, but and all the things I knew about Uncle Mel, it wasn't that he served on the council, and then to have him followed by Jess Green as well was just kind of some big impactful things. It seems like it's been hitting lately, so just would like to thank them for the time and energy they've put in, not only just here in the city, but obviously throughout the country and their careers. But that's all I have to report, Mayor.
Thank you for that report. Councilmember Shelton?
Thanks, Mayor. Just the only thing to talk about, kind of echoing comments that Councilmember Hunter talked about, is the passing of Mel Franson and Jess Green. You know, growing up in this community, you get to know a lot of people, and you see their impact, and it's hard to see that generation start to graduate to the next level, if you will. And a lot of them leave a lot of big shoes to be able to fill. And I know that I'm the recipient of many of their hard work and dedication, and so appreciate being raised in a community where that is something that's instilled that we can hopefully continue to carry forward from generation to generation. So thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Barnes?
This is not part of my official assigned duties, but we had a little incident on 700 North a week ago, yesterday it was, which was a holiday for most people. I don't think it blew the lid off, but it just about could have. We had a little problem with the storm drain. We had water flowing up out of that and just running down the street. And it started on Sunday, as near as I could tell. And a lot of water flowed, and some people looked at it on Sunday and they couldn't figure out what was causing it. 6 hours Monday, 8 hours, I don't know. It was a long day Monday. A couple of the city employees went over, and that's who I really want to thank. It was a holiday for them, but they got wet and they spent a lot of time trying to figure out what was going on, and it was a very unique situation. If any of you know about French drains, it was a French drain that was flowing into the storm drain that caused it to back up because of some other reasons, and there's a lot more to it, and I still don't, we're going to have a conversation because I still don't understand it all, and I was there and saw it. But those employees spent a lot of time trying to figure out what was there, and David Bunker, bless his heart, we flooded a basement. We didn't do it, that darn water did it, flooded a basement, and I just thought I'd better call him as the city administrator and let him know, and lo and behold, he's over here at the office, and he says, I'll be up there in a couple of minutes. And so he came up and helped with that. All I did was stand around and get in the way. I'm not trying to take any credit at all. I did do a little traffic control on a couple occasions when people wanted to go this way and we wanted them to go that way, kind of a thing. But it just exemplifies some of the things that have been said tonight, of what a great community this is in so many ways. People so willing to step up and to help, and that includes employees and staff. And I had one individual that said, we need to get some police cars over here, and we got to put one on this end and one on this end to control the traffic. And there'd been, I don't know, 5 or 6 cars go by or something. It was just unreal. But they were concerned neighbors and citizens. Obviously, they didn't want their basements flooded. But we were able to rectify it. That's the good news. They were able to finally figure out there was a blockage in that French drain. They stuck some dynamite in it, just M80s, quarter stick of dynamite. Threw them up there and stuck them up there and lit them, and it blew everything out, and they got it going again. So we don't have worried residents about that. But it was just a good job by the employees and their willingness to serve. And we actually had a third employee come by and I'm just joking on the M80s in case any of you don't know. You can't shove an M80 uphill against the water. It just won't work. We tried it as kids. You can drop them in the water and let them float, but don't try and push them uphill. If any of you don't know what M80s are, come see me afterwards.
David, will you raise this city's insurance policy, please?
I'd like to get a life insurance policy.
Thanks.
Well, I was just going to tag along and act like I knew what he was saying and saying that's why I got all those emails on that loud boom. So, all right. Okay, thank you. Councilmember Carroll.
Thanks, Mayor. The only thing I'll mention today is that next week is the State of the City luncheon that's hosted by the Chamber of Commerce. Mayor Frost gets to give a report on the state of the city. I commented to him a few weeks ago, didn't we just do this? It seems to roll around but no, it's been a year, just rolls around quickly. So he gives a lot of information about different things we've done recently, answers questions. Looking forward to that if anybody else wants to come.
Thank you. Councilmember Tater.
Thank you, Mayor. Happy New Year, everyone. I have nothing to report from my committees, but I do want to say a couple of things. In 1996, I ran for council and was elected. I was barely over 30 years old, and my first time having anything to do with Jess Green was then. I thought I might get light assignments because I was new and I was young, but Jess stuck me right in with the Planning Commission, where I got even more acquainted with a dear friend in Mayor Hadfield, who wasn't the mayor at that time. I received multiple assignments that I wasn't particularly fond of in that first year with Mayor Green. But I thank him for that because of the experience that I gained for that and the insight that he had to put me in those things. And those were some tumultuous years, that first 4 years. And while I didn't always agree and didn't often agree with Mayor Green, I can honestly say that I believe he had the city's best interest and what he thought was the city's best interest in mind. And he worked hard. He was a good man, and rarely a meeting ever missed. And he did a great job. And so I appreciate Jess Green, and my condolences go out to his wife and his family. And I thank him for the time that he served our city and for the things that he taught me during that time. And then it's already been mentioned about dear Mel Franson, but he was a dear friend of my father's and of my uncle's, and has done so much for our city in so many ways. His sons and his family continues to carry on and do great things, and he was just a pillar of our community. Went to school in American Fork, grew up here, and he will sorely be missed. He was a great man. So my thoughts and prayers go out to his sweet wife Mary and his family at this difficult time. And was a wonderful man in our community, and I appreciate all that he brought to our city.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, item number 5, the mayor's report. As I reflected on just the new year, the many events that we had during the holiday season, I would like to just highlight one item that I think was just a big, huge success for us as a city, amongst many other things. If you ever really key on to what we have as a trumpet in the city, Facebook, newsletters, Instagram, however we can use the ability to communicate, even if it's with the local newspaper, we use that. And in the month of December, we primarily, I think, use that in a repetitive manner to help bring attention to Tabitha's Way. And our residents really helped out. Let me tell you that I think we supported them to the tune of about 900 pounds of food. 1,100. Okay, so there was some late stuff coming. So 1,100 pounds of food. And I would just say, just by virtue of people letting me know and coming up to me, several $1,000s in donations that went directly to them and by way of just financial support. And so it was a great month, but as I look back on it, that's the thing that I probably remember the most as far as at a city level, is how we were able to come together as a community and support Tabitha's Way. I had the opportunity to go and hand out food one evening with several mayors, and actually it was with the county sheriff and a couple mayors. And again, somewhere there just comes 200 turkeys and all the food and the fixings to make a really substantive meal for Christmas Day. So Tabitha's Way does great things in our community, and really not just ours, but really the whole north side of this county. There's one on the South County in Spanish Fork, and between those two, they bookend this area. And so I just say thanks to the residents of our city throughout the month. And then I just want to if I could just mention as well, Mel Franson. And I had the opportunity to know Mel for several years. Probably the memory that will stick out to me the most, though, was sitting in the hospital with him as our wives were getting some procedures done, and we were just stuck in the waiting room for about two hours together. This would have been just within the last 3 to 4 years. And just this good, wise, cagey advice that he gave me, and we had just a very approachable, good-willed man. And he will be receiving, as was mentioned, military honors for his service to our country, and then a good mayor, Jess Green. And I see a lot of things that, paperwork and things that we're just standing on the shoulders of those that have gone before us. And in the city, we stand on the shoulders of a mayor, Mayor Jess Green. And we have reached out to the family, and we will be showing our support for his service as mayor just by way of emergency personnel accompanying him to the cemetery. And we thought that was the least we could do for a former mayor of our city. And so, again, 2 pillars of the community, 2 pillars that had a big stake in south of the freeway, and by way of living and growing up in that general area and in the TOD area. They own and still do a lot of property down in that area. So that is all I have tonight is the mayor's report. We'll now move on to the common consent agenda. I would like to make note for public record, as it was stated, there's a lot of development. This is a very lengthy common consent agenda, more lengthy than most. The first 10 items are more of a normal common consent. Many of the items after we've had to put back up there for a technical error that they were action items, and by way of virtue of that, we just wanted to make sure that they were brought back forth to the council in this common consent agenda. So is there any questions for the council on that?
Mayor, I'll move to approve the common consent agenda as listed.
Okay, have a motion by Councilmember Carroll.
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Taylor. Any discussion on this motion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes.
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter.
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton.
Aye.
Okay, action items. Item number 1 is a presentation and acceptance of the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2022, audited annual financial statement. I'll have Anna come forward and kind of give us a brief overview and introduce our next guest.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Good evening. The state requires us to perform an annual audit from an independent auditor. This audit is performed by Larson & Company. We published the annual financial report, which was reviewed by the audit committee in late December, along with the results of the audit. We also posted the financial statements on the Utah State website and also on our own city website. John Hatterley from Larson & Company, he's a partner with that firm, is here to present the results of the audit and will answer any questions that you have.
Thanks, Mayor and Council, for letting us come and take a few minutes. I'm glad you're meeting with us tonight. We're actually headed overseas to do some audit work at the end of this week, so I was glad it was this week and not next week. I'm going to start with, rather than starting with the audit report and our opinions, I'm going to start with our communication letter. There's communication in this letter that is now added to the audit report, so I don't want to duplicate information. Our responsibility for performing the audit, the standards that we have to follow, as well as your responsibility, that's all laid out in the engagement letter that you sign at the beginning of the audit. And that also includes the plan, scope, and timing of the audit. Compliance with all of our ethical requirements, as well as independence. This communication is just to let you know that responsibility is not on you as a council and mayor or on Anna's staff. That's my responsibility as the partner, is to make sure my team is independent as well as my entire firm. So we have to make sure that we're independent of the city in order to perform the audit. Significant risks that we identified as part of our audit. So this is a new communication this year that we're required to communicate to you, and this came about with new standards on our end. Because we do risk-based audits, we assess risk to every significant area of the audit, as well as overarching risks. And the three overarching risks that we identified were improper revenue recognition, cash disbursements, and then potential management bias, financial statement estimates, and the management's ability to override controls. So I have to explain this a little bit, and we can actually report on this as part of the audit report as key audit matters. I haven't had anybody request that because I don't know why you'd want to put those in your audit report, but the city really didn't do anything in and of themselves to warrant these risks. Like I said, we perform risk-based audits, so typical areas that are have a high rate of fraud become significant risks. And what we have to do is not only look at your financial statements and the disclosures to make sure that they're accurate and reasonably correct, we also have to look at misstatements caused in the financial statements by these risks. So improper revenue recognition is one of the highest levels of fraud. It happens in revenue all the time. People misrepresent their revenue, whether they want to be in compliance with bond covenants, budgetary compliance, things like that. They'll manipulate their revenue. Cash disbursements, because you're a local government, people are concerned about how you're spending public funds. So we make sure that you're spending it appropriately, that you're following your policies and procedures as far as procurement. And then management's bias. There can be bias built into the financial statements to make them lean in favor of a more favorable position for the city. Significant estimates. Over time, estimates can change, and you can manipulate data based on estimates. And then management's ability to override controls. So everything in your financial statement system should be based on a transaction. So if every month you bill for utilities, you're going to record a revenue and you're going to record a receivable when that invoice goes out. When somebody comes to pay for that utility, then your cash is going to go up and that receivable is going to go down. So those are transactions that accumulate and then build your financial statements. If there's a mistake made in the financial statements, then Anna or somebody on her staff have to have the ability to correct that, and you don't do that by a specific transaction, you do it by journal entry. You have to have that ability to correct misstatements. However, you can also use journal entries to conceal fraud, so that's why that's a significant risk. So what do we do to respond to that? We perform specific tests as part of our audit to address those risks to make sure that there aren't any misstatements in the financial statements caused by those risks. All right. We talked about significant estimates. Financial statement disclosures. All of this financial statements disclosures are neutral and they're consistent and clear. There weren't any uncorrected misstatements that we found or that we tracked. There weren't any difficulties in performing the audit. There weren't any disagreements with management. Management representations, we get a representation letter signed by the mayor and by Anna's staff that they've been forthcoming with any and all information that could potentially affect the financial statement balances or disclosures. And the whole reason for that letter is when I'm reviewing my staff's work, when I'm reviewing the financial statements and our opinions, I can be comfortable with our opinion, knowing that you've been forthcoming and open and honest with your communication with us. Findings this year there weren't any internal control findings, and there were no state compliance findings. So congratulate Anna and her staff. They do a really good job. Anna actually puts together the annual financial report by herself. We don't even have any real input in it other than reviewing it and making sure that it's accurate. And it's prepared very well. So I also like to give a shout out to Anna on that. Last year there was one state compliance finding, and that was a budgetary compliance finding. There were some funds that were over budget, but that was corrected in this fiscal year. There weren't any budget issues. All right. So the audit report, like I said, the audit report did change. The formatting changed. They changed the order. So now the opinion is first. And our opinion on the financial statements is an unmodified or an unqualified opinion. That's a clean opinion. The responsibilities of management is outlined in the audit report. There is one new thing, and that is if during the year or during the preparation of the annual financial report, there are conditions or events that are identified that would prohibit you from continuing as a going concern, then you have to report that to us and perform an analysis as a city to identify those, understand what's causing them, and then what you're going to do to move forward, and if you're going to have to adjust anything. The best example that I can give on that is, and the whole reason this is in here now is because of COVID. I hate that we go back to COVID now as our new timeline, but it is what it is. When COVID came about, there were a lot of businesses because of the shutdown that no longer could continue to operate. It also trickled into government. If businesses are shutting down, if people don't have jobs, they can't pay their property taxes, they don't buy things, so you don't get the sales tax revenue. So luckily in the state of Utah, none of our governments lost a lot of money, and you were able to continue to operate. However, there are governments across the nation that did struggle and really heavily relied on federal money. If it had not been for that federal money, then they would not have continued as a going concern. So that's why it is in there. If something like that is identified in the future, then you just have to perform an analysis. And we also, as auditors, have to, during our test work, we have to look for those types of things. And if we identify something, we would ask you for an analysis first, and then we do our own internal analysis as part of that audit. And if we find concerns, then we report on it as part of the audit report. Our responsibilities as part of the audit, we have to remain independent. We have to exercise professional judgment, and we have to be professionally skeptical. And I explain that to my team as we have to trust but verify. So we trust Anna's staff that they're doing it right. They want to do what's right. They ask questions. Our job is to verify what's in the financial statements. Required supplementary information, just remember that there are parts of the annual financial report that do not fall under our opinion, and that's the management's discussion and analysis that always follows the audit report, and then there's a section actually called required supplementary information. That is information that's required to be with the basic financial statements, but it's not part of the basic financial statements. I know that sounds confusing. The reason why it's there is to give it more readability and more understandability to the financial statements. Supplementary information, there is supplementary information which always follows our opinion, and that's your combining non-major funds. So you don't have to show every non-major fund in and of itself. In the basic financial statements, they are accumulated into one column, and that's what's required under GASB. However, you can choose to show those non-major funds individually so that the public and you as a council and a mayor can see what's actually in those non-major funds. Let's see. All right. The next report we're required to issue is a report that states that we performed our audit in accordance with government auditing standards. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this report because it has not changed from the prior year, and we did not identify any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses. The next report that we're required to issue is the report for the state auditor. We do give an opinion on your compliance. However, I have to give the caveat that our opinion on your compliance is very specific to the areas that we test. And those are your budgetary compliance, fund balance, your governmental fees, enterprise fund transfers, the URS compliance, open and public meetings, restricted taxes, fraud risk assessment, cash management, tax levy recognition, and public treasurer's bond. So our opinion is an unmodified or an unqualified opinion as well on your compliance. But that is not a legal opinion, and it also doesn't say that you're 100% in compliance with all of Utah State Code. It's very specific. We do look at other compliance issues as part of our test work that I feel are more relevant to what we're doing, such as the 3-day deposit rule. Any cash that comes into the city must be deposited within 3 days. I think that's relevant to your financial statements, making sure that the money gets from the city to the bank. And so we do incorporate compliance issues like that, but we didn't note anything that we would report on. So with that, is there any questions? Did I keep it under 10 minutes? I tried.
Just a couple comments if I
Okay,
if I
go ahead.
could. Love seeing these reports come out, so well put together, so thanks Anna and to Larson and Company. Adds a lot of detail. One of my favorite is the financial notes. It's always my favorite section because that's I call it I don't know, explain the anomalies or what's a little bit different, and it's good to kind of understand that. Brought this back up in September when we had our meeting with our financial advisor. I still feel like we are sitting too high in our uninsured balance. That balance is about 19 million now, knowing that was as of June, right? And we're getting this now. The last treasurer's report I saw that we had was back in June as well, so I'm not sure what our current balance on that is. Last year we carried a high balance as well. Just went back and kind of compared what it was like in 2013, because that's the most historical data we have on the website. And our total fund balance was 20 million, and now we're sitting about 114 million. And so we've seen some substantial growth in our fund balance over time, and I would reiterate my request to meet with staff to look at that, do a cash flow analysis and see about that. It's a good, healthy fund balance to have, but I think it's important to understand that and how we best utilize that money for our residents. But I would like to better understand our uninsured cash and checking account that we have. I know back in September I mentioned taking a look at an omnibus account that would offer more insurance on that cash, and wanted to see if we could possibly look at that. I don't know where our normal balance is at. I know we're going to be appointing a new treasurer here in a few minutes as well, and so hopefully that will work well with finance and trying to fix that cash flow so we don't have too much sitting in uninsured balances. The other thing I'd point out that I think is great to take a look at is, this last year we did truth in taxation and we did raise property taxes. And I think the chart here on page 126 of the report does a great job in showing property taxes. I don't know if Cam, if you can pull that up by chance or not, but it's a really good visual. I wish maybe this is something we ought to put out there to all the residents, is just to remind them. So on this chart, when you take a look in 2013, the percentage of tax, let's see. I'm not sure on the PDF. I'm looking at the physical one that was put in front of me here. No, anyway, it talks about the percentage of the rate that you're being taxed on your property. And in 2013, it was 2.8. And this last year, it was 1.68. And so I think that goes back and kind of shows the effect of truth in taxation. It also goes through and it shows you that in American Fork, if you add up all the property, it's valued at $3 billion back in 2013. And today it's over, no, I'm sorry, it was $2 billion. Today it's over $5 billion. So if you think in just that short period of time, more than a double in value, but we're taking a less percentage over time, yet things cost more and more. So truth in taxation is never an easy thing to understand, but I really do feel like we're trying our best to be able to manage things from a fiscal perspective. So just a few comments I had. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for John? Okay.
Thank you again.
All right. John, have a good, safe trip.
All right,
All
we'll
right.
try.
All right.
Question.
Mayor, if I could just quickly, I'd just like to echo John's comments about, but sitting on that audit committee, it's refreshing to be able to sit down I've made this comment before, but there's one of us that's not quite as qualified to be sitting in that room when I've got David Anderson and I'm blanking on
James.
James is from the
Hanson.
school district. Both of those two, James Hanson. I mean, those two have like 70 years combined, maybe even more than that. It's probably 80 years combined of financial, experience and well, I'd like to consider it as all three of us have 80 years combined. But, it's really refreshing and super. I want to make sure that we, acknowledge their time and energy spent on that. Obviously their experience and commitment to that is invaluable to me, and Anna's ability to do it in a way that meets their demand and also brings some of us along that maybe don't quite understand it as fully, but appreciate all your time and energy, Anna. It's not without notice, so thank you.
I'm probably in the city building a little more than most of you here. And I noticed Anna is there early and they're late. So thank you, Anna, for everything. Really appreciate it. This is, you do a great job. And thanks to all the other department heads and everybody that kind of follows the policies and procedures. Because if you get out of play, Anna will let you know. We know that. So anyway. All right, any other comments?
Mayor, can I just also make one comment? Anna has done a great job. During this time, she was shorthanded. We've had a tough time filling some of the positions within the finance department. And so not only was Anna pulling all the way to the regular job plus another job, and then also doing the audit was an amazing feat. And then to have a clean audit come through and everything was in order, quite simply is amazing. So Anna has done a great job for us, and we appreciate her.
John, maybe you ought to take her just to R&R while you do an audit overseas, okay?
Yeah, I need the help, so it's going to be warm, it's going to be American Samoa, so.
Mayor, I would move to accept the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2022 audited annual comprehensive financial report.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Taylor, second by Councilmember Hunter. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Shelton?
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll?
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter?
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor?
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes?
Aye.
Okay, item number 2 is review and action on an appointment of the city treasurer. I'm going to ask Brian to come up. I did prepare him for how I had Anna prepare him today for this.
Yeah, just a little background before we introduce Brian. We appointed Amanda Durant as the interim city treasurer while the position of accountant was vacant, and so Brian has been hired as the senior accountant. He was hired December 19th, so he's been here for a couple of weeks. We're grateful to have him at American Fork City and would recommend his appointment to city treasurer.
Okay. Brian, you in a nutshell.
Me in a nutshell. Bachelor's and master's in accounting. Started as an auditor for an accounting firm, audited government. Did that for a couple years, and then been in local government, city, county, a university since about 2009.
Okay. And where do you commute from?
Eagle Mountain.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that.
Hey, I like Eagle Mountain.
All right. No, that's a good city. Yeah. Anyway. Okay. I would
Mayor,
recommend a
I'd
motion.
like to make a motion to approve the appointment of Brian Freeman as city treasurer, and welcome.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Have a motion by Councilmember Barnes, second by Councilmember Taylor. Any discussion on this motion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Barnes?
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton?
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter?
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor?
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Item number 3, and I should have been a little more attentive and put you guys before the auditor. So we have a review and action on appointment of 2 individuals to the senior board, one being Blaine Wilson. I'll just have you stand, Blaine. We won't have you come up and speak or anything, and then just stand right there. And Leroy Overstreet. So appreciate these men and their willingness to serve on this board. Recommend that we approve them with the terms ending 2026.
Mayor, I'd move to approve the appointments of Blaine Wilson and Leroy Overstreet to the Senior Center Board with terms ending in 2026.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Taylor and a second by Councilmember Hunter. Any discussion on this motion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes.
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter.
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember action item number 4 is a review and action on the water banking agreement for surface water shares with Lane Downs for 5.56 acre feet of water.
Mayor, I had a chance to review this, and I'll make a motion to approve the water banking agreement for the surface water shares with Lane Downs for 5.56 acre feet of water and authorize the city to sign the agreement.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Shelton,
I'll second.
second by Councilmember Hunter. Any discussion on this motion? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Hunter.
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton.
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Item number 5 is a review and action on a performance in lieu agreement with HVAF2 LLC regarding actual construction in lieu of providing an improvement construction guarantee associated with Edgewater Townhome Phase 2.
I bet you multiple people get tripped up by the HVAF as opposed to
That's just exactly where I was going.
Mayor, I'd move to approve the performance in lieu agreement with HVAF2 LLC for Edgewater Townhomes Phase 2, removing the conditions previously required, and authorize the mayor to execute the documents.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Taylor,
I'll second.
second by Councilmember Hunter. Any discussion on this motion?
Discussion that I had, I appreciated the memo that was sent out to us explaining this, and had a good opportunity to talk a little bit more with our legal counsel this afternoon. The lieu and performance agreement doesn't specify what's what I'm looking for, improvements that are going to be put into it. And from my understanding, that wall that would continue through sections 2 and 3 are being bonded for. So I wondered if it'd be appropriate to amend the motion just to be clear that this performance in lieu is for improvements excluding the wall, and that the wall has been bonded for, just to make sure we're clear on the record.
I'll turn to legal counsel. Did you feel like that adds anything that you need for a binding?
I would just say it doesn't hurt to just clarify that the wall is part of the overall development and is not included in the public improvements designated specifically for phase 2 and 3. And just to add a little bit of clarification, the bond posted was a bond for all 3 phases, phase 1, 2, and 3 along 1160 West. The developer doing phases 2 and 3 is also going to be repairing and redoing the wall on phase 1, despite the fact that they are no longer using that.
I'm happy to amend my motion. I could probably use a little clarity on that, but this in lieu agreement does not include the wall, and has been previously bonded for. So this is for phase 2. And is there anything else I need to add?
Okay. All right, you second that?
I'll still second.
Okay, I'm going to call for a vote. Councilmember Barnes.
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton.
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye.
Okay, item number 6 is a review and action on a performance in lieu agreement with HVAF2 LLC regarding actual construction in lieu of providing an improvement construction guarantee associated with Edgewater Townhome Phase 3.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the performance in lieu agreement with HVAF 3 LLC for Edgewater Homes. HVAF 2 LLC, Edgewater Townhomes Phase 3, and authorize the mayor to execute the documents with just the same clarification as previous, that the improvements exclude the wall that has been bonded for outside of this agreement.
I'll second.
Okay, a motion by Councilmember Shelton, second by Councilmember Taylor. Any discussion on this motion? Okay, I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Hunter.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor?
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes?
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton?
Aye.
Item number 7 is a review and action on an action of a reimbursement agreement for 9 West and 42 East, 1100 South with Deer Park LLC. Any questions? We have the people here that can answer them.
Reviewed that agreement, Mayor, and didn't have any questions, so I'll move to approve the reimbursement agreement with Deer Park LLC for an amount no greater than $167,520.88 for system improvements along 1100 South.
Okay. Have a motion by Councilmember Shelton,
Second.
second by Councilmember Barnes. Any discussion on this motion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Hunter.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes.
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton.
Aye.
Item number 8 is a review and action on a pioneer agreement for Deer Park LLC for 9 West and 4200 South, 1100 North.
Mayor, I'd move to approve the pioneering agreement with Deer Park for the system improvements along 1100 South.
Okay. I have a motion by Councilmember Taylor.
Second.
Second by Councilmember
Sorry.
Barnes. Any discussion on this motion?
I'm through.
Okay, seeing none, I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Shelton.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter.
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes.
Aye.
Okay, item number 9A, review and action on an ordinance approving a commercial site plan for a wireless facility for AT&T Wireless located at approximately 74 East Frontage Road, located in the PI 1 zone. Is there any questions?
Mayor, I have no issues with this. I'm happy to make a motion. I move to adopt the ordinance approving the site plan for the commercial site plan for AT&T Wireless located in the area of 74 East Frontage Road in the PI 1 zone, with instructions to the city recorder to withhold publication of the ordinance subject to all conditions identified in the public record of the December 7th, 2022 Planning Commission meeting.
A motion by
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Carroll, a second by Councilmember Taylor. Any discussion on this motion?
Does that include the as I read through there was a geotech concern. I assume that's part of those conditions?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
That's the condition that's holding up the implementation.
That's
Okay.
perfect.
Okay. Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton.
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes.
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter.
Aye.
Item number 10 is review and action on a resolution adopting the American Fork City Sanitary Sewer Management Plan.
Can I just say, had no idea how many manholes we have in our city. I almost started counting.
Did you try counting?
That'd be a cool fact to know, so maybe our guys know that.
For
but
what?
How many
Just for the
manholes?
sake of being able to
You know
pull
what?
that.
We have X number of manholes here.
How many manholes do you have in your city?
The other thing, I just get a kick out of it every time I see it. Sanitary sewer. I'm sorry. It just causes shorts in my brain. I just don't quite understand how those two work together, but
You think it should be unsanitary sewer?
I think it should just be sewer. I don't want to discriminate or call names or any of that kind of stuff to the poor sewer system that caused us problems last week.
It's an inanimate object. Ken.
It is.
Call it
So you can call it whatever and not offend it, right?
Mayor, I'll move to approve the resolution to adopt the American Fork City Sanitary Sewer Management Plan as presented and authorize the city to sign all necessary documents.
Okay.
And as much as I hate to see the banner stop, I'll go ahead and second that.
Okay. I have a motion by Councilmember Shelton and a second by Councilmember Taylor. Any discussion on this motion?
I was just gonna comment on, I mentioned to David earlier today about it's eye-opening to realize how much maintenance it takes to keep a sewer system going. Like, I'm so grateful that people do that and keep up on it.
Think how we depend on that, though. And then you think, well, yeah, this makes complete sense.
Yes,
This
it's
could
so
actually
much constant work.
Completely screw up our
Yeah.
water system and everything else.
And you never think about it until something goes wrong.
Yeah.
And that very rarely happens for us, which is just fantastic.
Thanks for bringing
Yeah.
that up, Katie. Kevin.
So I jinxed it.
All right, I'm going to call for a vote. Councilmember Shelton.
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes.
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter.
Aye.
Item number 11 is a review and action on approving the field turf co-op pricing proposal for the construction of 6 lighted pickleball courts at Hindley Park. Something that we talked about at our work session. It's here.
May I make a motion to approve the field turf co-op pricing proposal and authorize the city to sign the said proposal?
I have a motion by Councilmember Shelton.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Taylor. Any discussion on this motion?
Just one quick question. Do we know when that's going to be installed? I didn't see a specified date in here. Maybe I missed that.
Derek, could we have a kind of a potential installation? Oh, Ken, whoever.
A time frame for it?
Yeah.
So this will get us on their schedule for spring, for a summer build, for spring, summer. So probably open end of summer.
Great.
We'll get some pickleball in it this year though, right, Derek?
Okay.
Don't look for me there.
Yeah. only if you play.
Let's see, I do have a motion in a second, right? Yeah, I'm going to call for a vote. Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton.
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter.
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes.
Aye.
All right, item number 12 is review and action on a resolution indicating the intent of the city council of American Fork, Utah, to adjust the common boundary with Pleasant Grove City, Utah, located at approximately 1485 East, 300 North at American Fork, for parcel number 14, colon 018, colon 0067, consisting of 0.0729 acres.
Quick question I had on this, Mayor, if that was appropriate time, is just looking at that map, is that red area the proposed annexation? Or boundary?
That little, the red square, right?
The red
Right.
square, isn't it?
And then as I look at that, it said it was 0.0729 acres. And when I look at that, these have got to be at least a third acre lot that we're looking at there compared to the other. I mean, these have all got to be at least 9,000 square foot lots in American Fork.
Yeah, I only
Any
put in what was on
clarification
the
on that?
ordinance.
And then the second question I had is, again, assuming it's this red block that's being boundary change that we're looking at. it-
That's what it looks like. It's kind of hard to read.
Is this just to allow access to that lot 1288 East? Is that the
It's the one off
proposal?
of 300, off 300 North. American. So that area in that subdivision is a retention basin, so it's not, that area couldn't be accessed through it, which is part of the
Gotcha. I missed
accessibility issues of this.
And
it's the
yellow is
sa-
PG, green is
And it's the
American.
same ownership between both parcels, and they're just trying to take both of them into.
But yellow is Pleasant Grove, green is American Fork.
Correct, yeah. Well, yeah, and then this white parcel is unincorporated Utah County, but it's within our area of annexation designation.
Right. So it's now American Fork. It's not.
It
it's
hasn't been
current.
annexed into the
Right,
city, we
but
would just
the
be.
boundary line.
Yeah,
is
goes
proposed that
around
it will
that.
be an American Fork.
Yep, correct.
So the only question I'd have then is if we can correct the right.
So, Councilmember, we added a 0. It's .729
Okay, thank
for
you.
the parcel. So
Oh.
instead of .0, we just need to move that decimal over.
And then
What's the decimal on
there was a, and I was trying to find it, but in this, it talks about in the background, it says 1485. I don't know if that matters, but that says west. I'm doing my best, Kevin Barnes. So it should be 1485 east.
Way to go.
Good job.
I just want you guys to know I read all 437 pages of it.
Evidently, I can't spell.
Sad accent.
Anyway.
So, Mayor, I'd move to approve the resolution indicating the intent of the City Council of American Fork, Utah to adjust the common boundary with Pleasant Grove City, Utah, located at approximately 1485 East, 300 North, American Fork, for parcel number 14-018-0067, consisting of 0.729 acres, authorizing a public hearing thereon and provide notice for said hearing. That, that flows. That just, the way we put those together, that
I'll
flows
second.
so nicely.
Motion by Councilmember Taylor and a second by Councilmember Hunter. And I'm just going to go for this vote. Councilmember Carroll.
Aye.
Councilmember Shelton.
Aye.
Councilmember Hunter.
Aye.
Councilmember Barnes.
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor.
Aye.
Okay, the last item, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So move, Mayor.
Motion by Councilmember Hunter,
Second.
second by Councilmember Shelton. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we stand adjourned. Thank you.
Don't bother me.
You don't want to say